Welcome to Economics and Politics. Okay, supply side policies, Rachel Reeves, the Labour government, and all of that. The drive to create better conditions for workers has always been at the heart of the Labour Party, and it's at the heart of the trade unions. And great progress has been made over the centuries, let's make no mistake about it, with trade unions being able to exercise some power in the labour market and make sure that workers get a fair deal. And it's difficult to know where we actually draw the line there, because of course at some stage the work of the trade unions can be detrimental to the business at hand. I can't help thinking of a time, for instance, when Royal Dalton, a major pottery manufacturer in Stoke-on-Trent, went to the wall, largely because, or a significant factor being, that the unions insisted on a given level of wages, given level of working conditions. And what happened was, in the end, the company just couldn't afford to give wages, so the unions negotiated more holidays. In other words, more holidays with pay. Well, I was just self-defeating, and in the end, the business wasn't competitive, and it fell away. It's gone, as has a lot of British manufacturing. And so some of that you could put down to trade unions. Having said that, it might just be that Britain is no longer competitive. We're a wealthy country. We pay our large wages to workers in Britain who get paid better than people in other countries. So that manufacturing has shifted to China. But I can't help think that the unions had a hand in it. And so where you get very strong unions and you get these demands for, if you like, better working conditions, particularly holiday pay, sick pay, worker rights, and higher wages, it can be detrimental to your economy. And I think that in France, for instance, the labour laws are far more severe than they are in Britain. And as a result of that, there is a reasonable level of unemployment in France and a reasonable problem with the economy overall, which is unsustainable. So, for instance, pension rights in France are far better than state pension rights in France are far better than in the UK. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It may well be a good thing, but it's not actually sustainable. And so the economy is really teetering as a result of its pension obligations and other obligations relating to the labour market, because, France has a far more rigid labour market than Britain. Britain, in a sense, is famed for its flexibility, the flexibility of the labour market. That's what attracts people into Britain or businesses into Britain to invest. And it's a supply side factor. It means that, it is easier to hire and fire in Britain. Working, pay rates aren't as difficult to make, and worker conditions aren't as difficult to meet as in France. So that's where Britain kind of has an edge and tends to get fairly good levels of investment into the country as a result of the flexible labour market. But that's going to end, because they're going to bring in, I think it's Angela Rayner in particular, bringing in rules and protections for workers that didn't previously exist. So let's just cover a couple of those. One, of course, will be the right. Well, the first one is the right to keep your job and to get sick pay from day one of your employment, all kind of rights from day one, as opposed to say 6 months into the job or 2 years into the job, whatever it may be. So worker rights are going to increase, and also 0 hours. There's going to be a clamp down on 0-hour contracts, which means that where you've got the flexibility of workers working a few hours a day or on particular days, and employers can say, look, you're not working tomorrow, but you're working the day after, that kind of thing. That's going to end. Well, that makes the labour market more rigid. And if you have to employ people, if you like, on a full-time basis, and you've got to pay your taxes on that, the national insurance, and all the sick pay and holiday pay that go with that, it might just be that you're no longer in business. So again, Britain, with an unemployment rate of around 4%, could be deemed to be at full employment. Certainly, technically, Britain is at full employment. Countries like France aren't at full employment, and in fact, unemployment is higher in Germany than it is in Britain. And this never really gets talked about. It never gets exposed. Actually, in a sense, Britain isn't doing that badly, or wasn't doing that badly, up until the end of 2024. We've got reasonably good employment rates, and okay, lackluster growth, but not a recession. Large swathes of Europe have been in recession in the last few years, and in fact, taken overall, Europe could be deemed to be in a recession right now. So economically, Britain has not been doing that badly. It's just that if you introduce rigidities into the labour market, your supply curve is going to move to the left. It's not going to move to the right. And when the supply curve moves to the left, it means lower output and higher prices. That's what happens when you introduce draconian changes in the labour market without a view to ultimately how the economy will achieve better growth. It certainly won't under those circumstances.